What's pointed pen calligraphy? What's a nib? What's a holder? Where do I find all these supplies at genuine prices? Relax, I have got all the answers to such questions. Hi, I'm Neha from artndstuff. I make videos on calligraphy, lettering, mandalas, doodling and much more. So if you're an artist or want to become one, consider subscribing to my channel. So in this video, we are going to discuss about pointed pen calligraphy supplies. So for that, we need holders, we need nibs, ink and paper. So we'll discuss all these supplies in detail and also from where to buy them. So stay tuned till the end of the video to know from where to buy these art supplies. So the first art supply needed for pointed pen calligraphy is this holder. So holder is nothing but the body of the pen in which you insert a nib to write in calligraphy. So there are two different kinds of holders. One is your straight holder and one is your oblique holder. Now talking about straight holders, there are 2 to 3 different kinds of straight holders and they are different in terms of the nib insertion point. Now this one is the standard, the most easily available straight holder, which can be used with almost every nib available in the market. So the nib insertion point is right here at the starting of the holder. So you insert the nib at this point. So there are many different types of holders and many different techniques of inserting the nib inside all those holders. So if you want a detailed video on how to insert nibs in different holders, please let me know in the comment section. Now there is one more kind of straight holder which looks like this. This is a little rustic as it's really old. So what happens in this holder is we have these little insertion points, and this is little different from this holder. So this is a wooden holder. And now there is this isomers 2-in-1 holder. Now why this is called 2-in-1? Because it can be used as a straight holder by inserting a nib over here, and you can always use a flange. It has a section to insert a flange, and you can use it as an oblique holder. So an oblique holder looks like this, and it provides a little 55-degree slant to your letters. So if you are into modern calligraphy and you want your letters to be a little cursive or bent towards a particular angle, you can use an oblique holder because it provides a slant angle, which is also used in scripts like Copperplate and Spencerian. Now this is a plastic holder and the nib insertion point is right over here. So this does not fit almost all the nibs but fits some of them. So Nikoji can be fitted into this one. Now the other oblique holder is this one with the flange. Now what is a flange? Flange is this metal extra additional kind of thing which can be used in holders. So this is removable. Now this metal flange is also available separately in the market. So you can use this isomers 2-in-1 straight holder, and this part over here is used for inserting the flange. So you can use this and this kind of straight holders. So these kind of 2-in-1 holders are the most versatile because these can be used as a straight holder by inserting the nib over here, and if you use a flange and insert it right over here, this can be used as an oblique holder. Now what are the pros and cons of these two holders? We can discuss it in a separate video in detail. Now this flange can hold almost all the nibs available in the market. So you can just insert the nib over here, and using your fingers or using pliers, you can just push it or just bend it to adjust the width of the nib. So the second art supply needed for pointed pen calligraphy is a nib. So a nib basically is the main writing part of your pointed pen calligraphy supply. So you insert a nib into a holder and then you dip this nib into ink to write the words or the letters. So talking about the nibs, there are plenty of nibs available in the market and every nib has a different feature, has a different price. So if you want me to discuss pros and cons and details of nib anatomy or details of other nibs, please let me know in the comment section. We can make a separate video on that. If you look at a nib properly, you can see that if you apply more pressure, it opens up like this, and this hence gives you the thick strokes, thick down strokes, and when you don't apply pressure, it gives you those thin hairlines or the thin upstrokes. So this way the nib works. These are 6 different nibs that I have used. This one is the Nikoji nib. This one is the Hunt 101. This one is the Principal EF. This one is the Copying nib. This one is the Blue Pumpkin, and this one is the Crown nib. So I'll mention all the links in the description so you can check that out. Now talking about the third art supply that we need for pointed pen calligraphy is the ink. So for pointed pen calligraphy, your ink should be of a good consistency, neither too thick nor too thin and watery. For beginners, when you don't want to spend more money and in inks, you can opt for fountain pen ink, because no one wants to use expensive inks for daily practice. So you can always use fountain pen ink, and this one is the Camlin fountain pen ink. It has an MRP of 20 rupees and easily available on any local stationery shop. So you can also always use fountain pen ink for your daily practice in the initial days. And there are other fountain pen inks also available, such as Parker or Camlin. You can also choose that. Now if you want to invest in a good ink that lasts long and is really good, you can opt for Sumi ink. This bottle, this is a 60 ml bottle, and it comes for something around 400 or 500. So I use this ink for my commission pieces or client works. So since this ink is pretty expensive for a 60 ml bottle, but it is worth the price, I have been using the same bottle for more than a year, and you can use this on any sheet, and it also gives a little glaze and a shine when it dries up. So Sumi ink. You can also use handmade watercolor inks. Now this one is from Janvi Arts. I'll mention the link in the description. So you can also use such these neon watercolor inks are my favorite. So these neon ready-made inks can also be used for pointed pen calligraphy. If you don't want to buy inks and all the inks in different colors, you can always use your watercolors as ink. So this is my watercolor collection, and these are handmade watercolors, and you can always use this as your inks as well. You can also use gouache as your inks for pointed pen calligraphy. So if you want to know how we can use gouache and watercolors as ink, we can make a separate video on that. Please let me know in the comments if you want a separate video on how to use gouache and watercolors as inks for pointed pen calligraphy. Now coming to the papers that we can use for pointed pen calligraphy. Since pointed pen calligraphy involves usage of ink, we need to make sure that the paper is bleed proof and is of good quality and GSM, so that the nib is not destroyed and the ink does not bleed and spread all over your paper. So for daily practice, you can use Excel bond paper. These are 90 GSM paper, perfect and really smooth for daily practice. These can be used for daily practice. The pack looks like this. So if you have workbooks like for practice, like these workbooks on modern pointed pen calligraphy, which you can buy from my website, I'll put the link in the description. So if you have such workbooks and you want to use them for practice, you can use these tracing paper. So tracing paper is really smooth and can be used for daily practice. So what you can do is, you can just take the workbook and put a tracing paper on it, and you can see that you can see the strokes or the letters, and you can just practice all over the tracing paper using the ink and the nib. So these are really good for those initial practice, for beginner practice. Now you can also use such grid papers to make sure that the length, height and width of all your letters is same and consistent throughout your work. So these grid sheets are also 90 to 100 GSM and are really smooth, and these you can buy from Janvi Arts or from any other local stationery shop or online as well. Now for daily practice, what I use are these rule sheets from local stationery. Now these are pretty smooth, and these are 80 to 90, something around 90 GSM, and these are really good for daily practice, as the rule sheets work as guide sheets and I don't have to make the lines or the guidelines every time I sit back to practice. So you can also use these. If you have some commission works for clients or some work that needs to be sent to someone and is not for you or for your daily practice, you can use ivory sheet. Now ivory sheet is a really smooth 120 to 130 GSM paper and is really good for all your inks, and especially it works well with Sumi ink. So you can buy this ivory sheet from Amazon, Flipkart or from your local stationery. This is easily available in the local stationery. Now if you are using watercolors or gouache as inks, it is preferable to use watercolor paper so that it does not bleed at all. So watercolor paper is really good when it comes to your client works or your commission work. So you can use 25% cotton or 100% cotton as well, and this is Anupam 20 sheets 300 GSM watercolor paper. Now I generally use 200 GSM or 300 GSM but 25% cotton. So you have to make sure that your watercolor sheets are not too rough or not too high on GSM, because it can ruin your nib. The nib becomes scratchy and the strokes are also then not neat. Now coming to from where to buy these supplies at a genuine price. So when it comes to pointed pen calligraphy, you have to buy a holder, ink, nib and paper all separately. So instead of finding all these supplies all over Amazon or different art websites, art supply stores, you can simply buy my pointed pen calligraphy kit. So the pointed pen calligraphy kit involves a workbook on basics of modern pointed pen calligraphy, bouncy pointed pen calligraphy and also flourishing in pointed pen calligraphy. So along with these 3 workbooks, we also provide such rule sheets, or with what we call as guide sheets, 20 guide sheets, along with the isomar straight holder that we discussed in the beginning of the video, and 2 nibs, Nico G and Hunt 101 nib, along with a bottle of ink and lots of freebies. So instead of wasting your time and effort in finding all the art supplies in different stores and in different websites, like finding nibs in different places, finding inks in different places, you can simply get this pointed pen calligraphy kit to just save your time and effort and invest that in your practice. All the other art supplies like the brushstroke wash or the handmade watercolors or the handmade inks, I have mentioned all the links in the description, so you can use those links to purchase the art supplies. So that's all for today's video. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe to my channel and follow me on Instagram. If you have any doubts regarding anything, you can mention in the comment section or DM me on Instagram. See you next week. Bye.